Alrighty, welcome back. This is Module 4, Topic 2, Lesson 2. This is Talk the Talk. So in this lesson, we learned about tree diagrams. So in this Talk the Talk, you're going to show that you know how to read and construct a tree diagram. So number one, it says construct a tree diagram to determine all possible outcomes for correctly guessing the answer to a 3-question true or false quiz. So you're first going to construct this tree diagram. Then number two, you're going to construct a probability model for the tree diagram. And then we're going to calculate the probabilities for the probability of getting 3 questions correct, the probability of getting 1 or 2 questions correct, and the probability of getting 0 questions correct. Now, if you notice, I went ahead and set this up for you already so that you didn't have to struggle and think about how a probability model is set up. So go ahead and do that. But also, I'm going to help you get started with this tree diagram because this may be confusing doing this for the first time or even second time. So let's get started. Here we know we have 3 questions. So that's 3 different events: question 1, question 2, and question 3. Me personally, I like to put it off to the side so I know what my branches are going to represent and what my outcomes are going to be. So for question 1, I know it can either be true or false. Now, we could use true or false, but here we're trying to determine the probability of getting them correct. So just know we don't have the answers, but we can notate that and we can say question 1, we're either going to get it correct or incorrect. So I'm just going to put a C for correct and an I for incorrect for question number 1. And then from question number 1, I'm going to go on to question number 2. So just as an example, if I were to get question number 1 correct, I know that my question number 2, I'm probably going to have the same outcomes or same possible outcomes for question number 2. It can either be correct or it can be incorrect. And each outcome then gets a new branch for each event. All right, so I'm going to pause here because I want you to use this as a guide to help you, 1, construct that tree diagram, and then 2, determine the probability, and then also 3, calculate those probabilities. So I'm going to give you plenty of time to work on this with your neighbor, yourself, your partner, your teacher, whoever. Set a timer for about 5 to 7 minutes to knock this activity out, and then we will compare answers. So maximum 7 minutes, 5 if you're feeling ambitious, 5 to 7 minutes. I'll let the class decide, and then pause here and get started. All right, go ahead and pause here. Alrighty, let's go ahead and compare answers. So your tree diagram should have looked something like this, where the first question you answer could either be correct or incorrect. Then you go to question number 2, and from there, your answers can be correct or incorrect. And then from there, you're drawing your branches and your ends. At your ends, your answers are either correct or incorrect. So notice we've got a total of 8 different possible outcomes. So in our probability model, we've got 8 as our total outcome, and I went ahead and just calculated the probability of getting 0 questions correct, and that is 1 out of 8, because that would then show an incorrect, and an incorrect answer, which I will highlight in a second. And so I'm also going to go forward because I made a lot of annotations, but I started off going towards my 1, 2, and 3. So for 1 answer correct, I would highlight or circle correct, incorrect, incorrect. You could also circle incorrect, correct, incorrect to show 1 correct answer. You can also highlight 2 wrong answers, incorrect, incorrect, and then finally you get a correct answer. And those are all of the options or outcomes that show 1 correct answer. So that probability is 3 out of 8. Then 2 correct answers in blue, that looks like correct, correct, incorrect, incorrect, correct, correct, and correct, incorrect, correct. All show 2 correct answers. So that probability is 3 out of 8. And then for my 3 correct answers, that is correct, correct, correct. So I circled that outcome, and that was only 1. So that probability we know is 1 out of 8. All right. And then there's our incorrect, all 3 incorrect outcomes. So this is what your work should have or could have looked like. If you don't have this down, go ahead and get that copy. But now let's move on to question number 3. It says, calculate the probabilities of each of these. So the probability of getting 3 questions correct, we can see from our probability model, is 1 out of 8. Chances are very slim. Then the probability for getting 1 or 2 questions correct, well, we can add these together, and I know that that is going to get me 6/8 because 3 plus 3 gives us 6. There is a great possibility that you're either going to get 1 or 2 questions correct. So that is 6/8 because I've added those two. That's where I got these numbers from. All right. And the probability of getting 0 questions correct, we can see that from our probability model, is 1/8. 1 out of 8 chance. Alrighty. This concludes our activity for today, our talk the talk. So this honestly should show and prove that you understand how to read a tree diagram, how to construct a tree diagram, and how to determine and organize outcomes using a tree diagram. If you don't, be sure to ask your teacher for additional help or go back into this lesson, use the lesson notes to help you. Alrighty, that concludes this video. I will see you in the next one.